The price of Bitcoin was just a few $100s in claiming that high from Monday at 110.7K. Now, this only means one thing. We are still leaning that all of this is a corrective structure and it is a matter of time to hit new all-time highs. Now, of course, this could be in the next coming days or even in the next coming weeks, as this range could continue for several days to then hit all-time high at some point. Now, that is the highest probability scenario. All of this does look extremely corrective. It is very rare for a wave 2 to get all the way up here, almost to the 0.88 Fibonacci. We have a 3-wave move to the downside here. So it's not looking extremely great for the bears, I have to say. Yes, we did move down a few $1,000s, but this is something very similar that we talked about last week, where we had a 3-wave move down here. We got the bounce and then the big massive drop, ending up in a 3-wave structure. I do see this also as a 3-wave structure. Now, of course, the price could develop in many different ways. Is this the low right now because we are at support and we're going to head up to all-time highs? Well, that doesn't look too great either. I'll be explaining why in this episode. Guys, a quick reminder. Now, I do have a great promo for you that is joining the Legends trading community. There is a 10% discount using Andy promo. You have it down below in the description, guys. It is the 5th link down below. As you can see, this is only valid for Friday. And in the Discord is where you get the setups, you get education, you do have all of the modules to learn the different strategies that we use. Make sure to take advantage of that 10% discount, guys. You got the link down below. Now let's go right away. Why are we bouncing from here? We got the major drop, okay? It was a matter of time that we were going to get a kind of a bounce at this zone. We have a lot of support here. Let's start off here with the previous week highs. Previous week highs is this pivot right over here, which we just tapped very nicely, and now it is getting a reaction. We also have the anchored VWAP from all-time high and also from this pivot low. When you get the anchored VWAP, which is this tab right over here, and you do get the all-time highs, you do have the anchored VWAP coming down here to this level, as you can see, from this pivot low and this pivot high. So you got a lot of support sitting right over here. What else do you have? Well, we do have also the 1.382 to the 1.618 extension, because yesterday we did form a lower high in this zone. We got all the way up here. This was a 3-wave structure. All of this does look very corrective. I'm going to show you how the price could develop in the next coming days and show you the most important levels, just so you are aware and you are ready for the next trading setup, okay? Now, if we do take a look at the extension from this lower high to the low to the next lower high, you can see the 12361,382 almost hitting the 1.618 extension is your common zone for either your WXY or your ABC, okay? We would label it as a 3-wave structure. And over here is where we are bouncing at the previous week high and all of those anchored VWAPs from all-time high and the pivot low. So we got a lot of support here. And as we do understand that this does not look like an impulse purely based on that first 3-wave structure that we had to the downside from the highs of Monday, then we do realize that this is just another corrective move down and we are not expecting a massive breakdown. So what is the outcome here? How could the price develop? Well, let's talk about the most bullish case scenario just for the massive bulls out there, which I think is highly unlikely. We do have our first wave 1 to the upside, our second wave 1 and 2 bouncing at the golden pocket zone, okay, 7-8 Fibonacci golden pocket area to form that higher low for your second wave 1 and 2. And right now we are going to absolutely moon and hit all-time high in the next coming days. The main reason why this is low probability is because your second wave 1 and 2, the correction is extremely longer, not only in price action, but also in time, okay? This would be an unlikely scenario, but something to point out. We're still leaning on this to be a zigzag, okay, corrective structure, all right? Now, if we do take a look at the other scenarios, well, one that has high probability, in my opinion, would be a ABC flat. We do have the zigzag down. We do have a 3-wave structure to the upside here. However, this 3-wave move up that we've had in the last few days hasn't hit the minimum target for a flat. which is very interesting, which will take me to the next possible scenario, okay? Now, if we do not hit the 0.9 Fibonacci, okay, from the drop, well, that's not a minimum target for your flat, okay? So a flat here would not make sense. We need to go to higher levels and most commonly take out the start of your A wave, which is basically all-time high. So we do have a three-wave structure to the upside for the moment, and right now we have a three-wave move to the downside. Now there's two scenarios here. We move up in a corrective structure. We do start hitting some resistance. We do have a naked point of control from yesterday sitting at $109,500. Okay, there is a naked point of control. If you do get the volume profile from yesterday, you will see that 109.5 is where we have a naked point of control. Interesting resistance to take into consideration. But also what could happen here is that we do form a three-wave corrective structure and then another three-wave move to the downside, forming a double zigzag, okay? Now, this would be your B wave, okay, inside of your larger B wave here, okay? So what we were looking at here is basically looking for a three-wave up, three-wave down, and another three-wave up, potentially in a double zigzag WXY to form your B wave. And then, yes, we do have the potential of the flat formation, not breaking out successfully from all-time high. Now, why do I think that this is a chance? Well, just because of the local structure. For the moment, this does not look like a double 1-2 to get a 3-4-5, right? And we absolutely rock it. There is a chance, but overall it doesn't look too great just because this does look more like a three-wave move up. So as I see this does look corrective. It is a three-wave structure to the upside. So if we do have a zigzag, right, we can really look for potentially a double zigzag, right? Regardless if the zigzag is finished here, which I like the idea that we do form another zigzag and then another zigzag down, sweep up these higher lows, and then get the rally to the upside to form that B wave of the flat. This would be an interesting scenario. If we do form this structure, okay, and then come to the highs, I would be very skeptical of really breaking out successfully. I would be looking for that failed auction, right? Swing failure pattern of all-time highs to then get a larger pullback, all right? There could be some interesting shorts if we do identify a five-wave structure to the downside once we hit the all-time highs for this scenario, a large ABC flat scenario to then later on in the next coming weeks hit all-time high, okay? But just something to take into consideration. So the most important level of resistance, apart from that naked point of control, which is from yesterday, okay, we did break down from this point of control of today. So and then we got the support from the previous week highs, anchored VWAPs, as mentioned, right, getting that little bounce now of a few $100. It is sustaining as support. What do we have as resistance? Well, what is interesting is that we are back inside of the fixed volume profile, the range of the last few weeks, okay? Of course, that is where we did get supported yesterday, okay? Sorry, on Tuesday, and we could be getting some resistance at $108,500. That is going to be a bit of a crucial resistance zone. If we do move up in a zigzag and we struggle, we start losing the lows here, I do see the price really breaking down, okay, to sweep up these higher lows. Now, what is the most important level of support? Well, the most important level of resistance, 108,500. If we get above that level, 109.5, which is the naked point of control, okay, of yesterday. We could still form that double zigzag regardless, okay? We could still form that movement to the downside, something to pay attention, okay? Resistance number one, value area high of the range, which we did get a bounce on Tuesday. Resistance number two would be $109,500, okay? So if we do roll down to lower levels, we do get that double zigzag kind of scenario and it gets aggressive. We start sweeping the lows. The most important level to get a bounce, to pay attention, okay? These are your guidelines, is eventually the 50% Fibonacci from the pivot low to the pivot high. Okay, remember we are looking at this as a three-waver. You got a possible three-wave move down on the formation in the next coming days. Well, 50% Fibonacci is where we have this order block from the higher time frame, right? This would be the first level to pay attention. This could be the area where the price does manage to find that support and get the epic bounce. So I would be interested in some longs at this zone. If that level is broken aggressively, well, the next big major level is the golden pocket with the point of control. This is your best level at 103.9k zone. Okay, this would be a very, very interesting zone, which I will be interested in longing eventually, right? I do still see all-time highs happening. However, the range could really continue for the next coming days, guys. Longs are still looking very, very attractive. Just understanding that what is forming here is still a very large correction. This does look corrective. The movement down that we've had from the last few days, very three-wavy, looks corrective. It's a matter of time, depending on what we form in this zone, that we do hit new all-time highs, which could potentially be in the next couple of weeks, if not days, right? So most important levels in a nutshell, our support, the 50% Fibonacci, taking into consideration here this double zigzag scenario to form that B wave of your flat. If we start moving very impulsively here to the upside, then we could consider that double 1-2. However, second 1-2 is very large, okay? Just something to take into consideration. If we start mooning here very aggressively, breaking the resistance, which I don't think is going to be the case, we just have to say that this is the double 1-2 setup, right? And we're entering that third wave up, okay, to break all-time highs. It's a possibility, even though the probabilities are low. It's something to take into consideration, okay? So support number 1, 50% Fibonacci with that order block. Support number 2, that point of control with the golden pocket. These are the two guidelines to take the long. If you lose that level, not interested in the long here. If you hit this level and you reclaim it, interested in the long. And we are looking for a swing long position potentially, okay? Very important level to take into consideration. And levels of resistance, value area high, guys, of the range, okay, which we could get that pullback to form that double zigzag down, okay? Very, very important level of resistance. If we break that level, our next level of resistance, I'm not interested in shorts in this zone unless we fake out, we form a three-wave structure, we get back beneath the higher low, then the shorts could be interesting to go to lower levels. If we break this level, next level of resistance to pay attention, all right, for the reaction, 109.5, which is that naked point of control. It could still form that double zigzag from that level, okay? Yeah, well, we're already going to be hitting the 7 Fibonacci, okay? That really decreases the possibility of a double zigzag down, okay? It probably can range in this zone, right? If we do get as high as here, I do think that it's going to be looking quite bullish, okay? If we do get 109.5, it could reject, but if we get all the way up there, I do think it could be a matter of time that we do actually get up to the highs of Monday and potentially hit new all-time highs. This was it, guys, for this update. Just a few levels, a few scenarios. It's a matter of time to hit all-time high. The range obviously could continue in this scenario, okay? We could still be in the formation of this B wave. The multiple 1-2 setup here looks highly unlikely in my opinion, so we could be ranging still for the next coming days, all right, till we actually hit new all-time highs. Remember that you do have insane bonuses on weeks, guys. You do have $30,000 deposit bonus, 25% fee reduction on your trades. It's the second link down below. And also on Bluffin, you do have 20% cash back on your initial deposit up to $500 and all these different perks that you have, okay? As you do trade, you can win a Rolex and an iPhone and all of these different things. Thank you very much for joining today's video update, and I will see you in the next one.